Okay. Home stretch, there's some pictures of cute kids, a cute kid, I think, I'm biased, coming. There is social hour coming. Last piece. I want to say a huge thank you to Senators Ash and Bray for those remarks. Also to Senator Andrew Perchlik and Senator Mark McDonald, who all joined us today. From the House, Representative Sarah Copeland-Hanzis, who's the co-chair of the Climate Solutions Caucus. Thank you for being here. Kurt McCormick, chair of the House Transportation Committee. Matt Byron, Scott Campbell, Representative Marie Cordes, Kimberly Jessup, Jim Masland, Avram Pott, and Representative John Kalaki all joined us today. So thank you to all of them, to Lieutenant Governor Zuckerman, Mayor Weinberger, and the team at Burlington Electric Department. From the Scott administration, Deputy Secretary Peter Walk, and Deputy Commissioner Riley Allen, thank you. And to all the non-appointed career public servants who are here and work every day for our state government, thank you. To former Secretary of Education Rebecca Holcomb, thank you for your engagement in these important issues as you campaign for governor. Thank you very much. From Senator Sanders' office, Haley Perrow. From USDA Rural Development, Ben Doyle and Ken Yearman. To our Summit Planning Committee members, to the board members of EAN. I want to give a special thank you to all those who volunteered with tech. Ian Hitchcock, keeping everything running very smoothly. And Pamela Hathaway and Diana Chase for helping in all sorts of ways. To Carolyn Wesley, our amazing new network manager, who you would never believe has only been with EAN for 3 weeks. We are so lucky to have you with EAN. To all of our speakers and presenters, including the lunch table hosts, the folks who pitched, to the moderators who did an incredible service with not just one, but 3 pitch sessions. Thank you, Carrick and Jen. To the funders who made this event possible and have made EAN's work in general possible, including the Maverick Lloyd Foundation, the John Merck Fund, the High Meadows Fund, and many others who were not able to be here. Most importantly, to all of you, our network members and public partners who make up EAN and make it possible not only for Vermont to have important energy and emissions reduction commitments, but to have a chance of meeting them. It is your commitment, your wisdom and expertise that gives us a chance for breakthrough progress. Okay, so before we go to social hour, I want to end on a personal note. This work for a lot of us is really personal, and I want to bring it back. So let me introduce you to my son, Liam. He's 5 years old. He has a dimple on one cheek, and as you can see, a mischievous little smile. He has an incredible curiosity about the natural world. He loves learning about animals and trees. He loves hiking and fishing and exploring. Here he is when we spread my father's ashes in the Gaspé Peninsula. Here he is looking for whales in Quebec. Here he is with his book about seashells on the shore. This is us hiking at Mount Elmore. This is him up on the Palisades in Fairleigh, where he found a peregrine falcon feather. Fishing on the north branch of the Winooski. I want to ask you to close your eyes and picture your own child or a child that you love. Think about their wide-eyed awe for something about our natural world. And hold that. So when we let Liam watch TV, his first choice is usually a nature documentary, usually something narrated by David Attenborough. He started with Planet Earth, and then Blue Planet, and most recently, it's been Our Planet. Some of you may know, I did not know this before he started watching it, that it's a more honest documentary than Planet Earth. Rather than just showing the grandeur of our home, it is also sober and direct about the threats to life across our planet not shying away from the climate crisis and our role in the destruction that it creates, whether that's sea level rise, intensifying drought, or coral bleaching. I don't have the clip to show you, but these are some examples of the kind of before and after images he saw of the Great Barrier Reef. Also, as some of you know, my wife Joan is a minister. Perhaps in this public forum, I should refer to her as Reverend Javier Duval. And the congregation that she serves organized an event in support of the youth climate strike last Friday. Part of preparing involved coloring posters. So the other night, she and Liam were coloring together, and she asked him, "Do you know why we're making these signs?" And he said, "Yeah, for the climate strike." "Do you know why we're striking?" she asked. "Because of what's happening to the climate." "Do you know why it matters?" she asked him. And then he said, "Mama, I don't want to talk about this anymore. It makes my heart hurt." "Mama, I don't want to talk about this anymore. It makes my heart hurt." That's some pretty tough stuff for a parent, right? Joan's initial response was to say, "But there are so many things we can do." She talked to them about all the ways that we've gotten off of fossil fuels as a family. Liam loves helping me, for instance, helping me stack bags of pellets. Here he is sitting on top of them. For our pellet stove, he knows that our water is heated by a renewably powered heat pump. He goes with me to Black Bear Biodiesel to get B100 for my car and our backup heating system, a car which will soon be an EV next month. He knows that we have an electric lawnmower and a pellet grill and on, but he still sees large trucks rumble down the road carrying massive loads of fuel oil and propane, and we still pass gas stations everywhere we go. Obviously, even to him as a 5-year-old, he can see that individual actions are small in the larger context of the change needed, whether in our city, state, country, or world. As I've thought about this more, I've realized that I can't protect him from reality. I can't shield him from the truth that he will find out. And I can't make his heart not hurt. Because mine hurts too, and really it's for the same reason. I'm tired of talking. We need real action, serious action, not just personal action that doesn't add up fast enough, policy action, science-based action, economy revitalizing action, action that most of all matches the depth of our responsibility and the breadth of the opportunity before us. Vermonters have heard lots of words about Vermont's emissions from our leaders, but have not seen significant transformative actions yet up to the task. Over a decade ago, the legislature set a goal of reducing our greenhouse gas emissions 50% below 1990 levels by 2028. Instead, as of the latest data, they're 16% above 1990 levels. 2 years ago, Governor Scott committed Vermont to meeting the Paris Climate Agreement reductions of 26 to 28% below 2005 levels by 2025. Now, about 5 years away from that deadline, we're less than a tenth of the way there and going in the wrong direction. The lesson from other states, provinces, and countries is clear. Emissions don't decline on their own. Legally binding requirements for emissions reduction are the only proven and effective strategy we've seen across the world. The places that have been most successful in slashing pollution have been the ones that have put in place policies with mandates. And not coincidentally, these have also been some of the strongest performing economies in the world. As an objective tracker of energy and climate data for this network, an independent analyst and a neutral convener of this diverse network, it's not appropriate for me to say what specific requirements or laws should be put in place. However, I do have a responsibility to say not only that we are falling short of our goals and commitments, but that none of the policy actions we have taken in the recent past come anywhere close to achieving the goals the legislature has set, the commitment the governor made, or the responsibility that we have to this and future generations. It doesn't have to be this way. Other states, provinces, and countries are showing that a low-carbon future is possible. California and Quebec have capped emissions economy-wide, not just from electricity generation, as we have, but also from thermal and transportation. And those places have successfully reduced their emissions below 1990 levels while experiencing impressive economic growth and improving equity. Massachusetts and Connecticut, and now Maine and New York have put in place legal requirements for emissions reduction through Global Warming Solutions Acts, as you heard from Lauren earlier. Vermont is now an outlier in New England in not backing up our talk with required action. And so we are now in the untenable position of being the US state with the most aggressive emissions reduction goals, but woefully inadequate policies to meet them. But thanks in large part to the work of the legislators and leaders who attended today and the folks who developed proposals, I think that's about to change. The Vermont I know and love is one that throughout our history has led in times of change, not retreated or stood by. And while we have a rightful claim to innovation and leadership in terms of energy efficiency and renewable electricity over the past 2 decades, we need to come together to claim new leadership in the climate fight for this decade, focusing on getting off of fossil fuels for transportation and heating. Of course, Vermont can't solve the climate crisis on its own. No single state, no single country can. That's not an argument for inaction. It is all the more reason to do our part and not shirk our responsibility. I'm reminded of the image of a barn raising and how it takes everyone, and if one person decides to chicken out and not carry their weight, the whole thing falls apart. We are all in this together, and every action, every example matters, especially now. Besides, as many of the political leaders in this room know, we didn't let the fact that passing civil unions and then marriage equality in Vermont would not provide equality to all LGBTQ people in the world stop us from doing it here. We did it for Vermonters, and then that example rippled out across our borders, inspiring other states and countries. The same can be true of our action on the climate crisis. It will benefit Vermonters, and it can be a powerful example that helps speed change elsewhere. Of course, no matter what, we can't stop the near-term impacts of climate disruption. But we are the last generation that can head off the worst impacts from a radically destabilized climate. And the next decade, really the next 5 years, is our best and perhaps last chance to do that. And we can't stop our kids' hearts from hurting, or our own for that matter, but we can build in our kids and among ourselves a strength of spirit that doesn't allow that hurt to become numbing or immobilizing. And we can help instill in each other the courage of our convictions. I think that strength of spirit comes from having some hope. Not naive hope, but sober, clear-eyed hope that another future is possible. And I know of nothing that has more power to create a better future than collective action. That's why EAN exists, because we know that our power together is greater than any one organization alone. Because we feel that our actions for systemic change are more powerful and effective than isolated individual actions. Of course, there is no guarantee of success, but there never is, and that's where the courage of our convictions comes in. I often return to the writing of Ethan Allen, a Vermonter who knew a thing or two about courage in the face of long odds. Ethan wrote, "If we have not fortitude enough to face danger in a good cause, we are cowards indeed." Our wisdom and fortitude, or timidity and folly, must terminate the matter. Another powerful leader spoke to us all this week, Greta Thunberg. In her remarks at the United Nations, she said, "The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose," I thought this was key, "if you choose to fail us, not if you fail us, if you choose to fail us, we will never forgive you." We owe it to our kids, we owe it to ourselves to act with the wisdom and fortitude that Vermonters have shown for hundreds of years. Our leadership role is just as important as anywhere else in the world, perhaps more so. I don't want to talk about it. It makes my heart hurt. We cannot fail our kids. Now is our time to get Vermont back on the path of energy and climate leadership. Together, we can write a new chapter in Vermont history, one that future generations will remember us for, and that we and they can be proud of. We can do this. Let's do it together. Thank you.